Everyone pictures Vermont as a place that's beautiful, scenic, it's slower paced, but it's not for everybody. So, in this video, we are going to talk about the 7 hard truths that you'll have to face if you live here in Vermont. Look, I love living in Vermont, but there are some downsides that we're going to go over in this video so you know not only the good things about Vermont that you probably have in your head, but also the negative aspects that you'll have to face if you do decide to move here. But before we get into the video, my name is Liam O'Reilly. I'm a realtor here in Vermont with Jerry Riley Real Estate. So if you're somebody who's looking to move to Vermont, or you're somebody who lives in Vermont and is looking to move out of state, really has any real estate needs, reach out to me directly. I would be happy to help you. Okay, so the first hard truth is probably the most obvious one. It's the one that people think about the most, that I get asked about the most when people are moving from out of state, especially the southern states. And that's the winters here in Vermont. How are they? Well, the truth is they can be hard, especially if you're used to a warmer climate. Me personally, I grew up in New Hampshire, so it's not that different from New Hampshire, but there is more snow. The days tend to be a bit colder than even New Hampshire, which is right next door. So if you can't handle the cold, if you can't handle the dark days, then you might struggle living here because basically from the end of October until the middle of March, the days are short, the weather is cold, we'll have snow on the ground. As I'm recording this video in 2025, we had snow in mid-November. I'm a big skier, so now I love the winters. I love the cold. I don't mind the short days, but if you're someone who loves your sunshine and loves your warm weather, you have to know that for at least 5, 6 months out of the year, you're not going to get it as much as you would in the southern states. And driving in the snow can be difficult as well. Depending on where you live, the roads might not be plowed consistently. Now, they do a good job here in Vermont of keeping the interstates plowed, even when it's snowing out. And as long as you take it slow, even if you have a two-wheel drive car, you should be fine. But if you're looking in a more rural part of the state, you're going to want to have a four-wheel drive car. You'll probably want to have winter tires and switch those out in the springtime for summer tires so you have more traction when driving in the snow. My tip for driving in the snow, just take it slow. There's no need to speed. If you're going out in snowy weather, take your time. There is no rush, and it's way better than getting in an accident and hurting yourself, potentially other people. Truth number 2, the cost of living, it might surprise you. Housing up here is relatively expensive. It's something that we talk about a lot on this channel, that housing can be unaffordable. Both rentals and single family homes can be more expensive. The median sales price in Vermont is roughly around $450,000. In Chittenden County, which is where I live around the Burlington area, the median sales price is around $550,000. Now, a 2-bedroom apartment here in the Burlington area, it's going to run you between $2,000 and $2,500 per month, depending on the quality of the unit and the location that you're in. So the cost of living can be high. Property taxes are higher than most states. The property that I live in, I bought my property for around $600,000. My property taxes are about $11,000 per year, or a little bit more than that. And then if you live in one of the more rural areas, you'll be driving more to get into town to get your groceries. That fuel cost will add up, and gas is a little bit more expensive here. I have family down in New Hampshire. I mentioned I grew up there, and gas is cheaper in New Hampshire than it is here in Vermont. So the taxes, the housing, it's all going to add up if you live here. That being said, you don't have to be a millionaire to live in Vermont. It's not a place that's out of reach like Beverly Hills or something like that, or Manhattan, where you really need to make a lot of money in order to be able to live there. There are still options, and it's not impossible to live here in Vermont on a reasonable income. And then rolling into that, housing in Vermont is hard to find. If you're somebody who's looking to purchase a single family home, you're probably already experiencing that in your home search. Vermont does not have that many homes. We need to build more homes. The Vermont Futures Project and Let's Build Homes are 2 advocacy groups for more housing construction across the state. But if you're looking to purchase a property, it's difficult to find, and even looking to find a rental can be tough at times. The housing stock here in Vermont is low relative to the amount of people who want to live here in this state. So be prepared to look for a reasonable amount of time. I have clients who I've been working with that have been looking for longer than a year, and they're not the first ones that I've had to do so. So it may take time before you find the right property for yourself. So be prepared with either temporary housing if you're moving from out of state, or if you live in state, don't put yourself into a time crunch because the right home for you might not pop up for a handful of months. Now, takeaway number four is that change happens slowly here in Vermont, especially if you're looking to add on to a property or if you're looking to buy land. Permits and approvals, they'll take time. Business approvals could take time as well. Change happens very slowly. Vermont as a whole, as a state, I would say values patience and deliberation over speed when it comes to change across the state. So if you're looking to move to Vermont to build a home or to start a business, just know that it might take some time. But that's what keeps Vermont special. It keeps Vermont small. And although we do need more homes, we don't want to see Vermont become Manhattan. I don't want to see that. I don't think you watching this video, whether you live in Vermont or you're thinking about moving to Vermont, want to see the state of Vermont become a big, dense city. That's not what we need here, but we do need more homes. We do need more change, but it takes time here in Vermont. It's not going to happen overnight. All right, point number five. And this is probably the point that I think is most important to keep in mind when moving to Vermont. It's something that I didn't quite grasp before I moved here in 2018. It's that Vermont is a small state and it's really small. We don't have any professional sports teams here in the state. There are some, college leagues and there is a soccer team in Burlington, but we don't have, a football team or a baseball team here in the state of Vermont, although you can travel down to see the Patriots play in Massachusetts or the Red Sox in Fenway, or go up to Montreal, which is about an hour and a half drive from Vermont, and watch the Canadians play hockey. But being a smaller state, we only have about 650,000 people here. And so you don't have some of the amenities that you would have in a larger state. Even New Hampshire, New Hampshire has Dave and Buster's. There's no Dave and Buster's here in Vermont. If you want Top Golf, you got to go down to Massachusetts, down by Foxborough. So, it's a smaller state. There's a lot of nature. It's very beautiful. But with that comes fewer amenities that you would get in a larger state or a larger city. And with that, we're a very tight knit community. Everybody knows everybody here one way or another, or at least has a friend of a friend who will know you. You're never too many connections away from somebody here in the state of Vermont, which can be great. People are very neighborly. They help each other out. It's nice to say hi to familiar faces when you're walking around town or you're walking around your neighborhood. But if you're somebody who values being anonymous, like you might be in a larger city, like say New York or Los Angeles, doing that here in Vermont is much harder in a small state where you're likely to run into your neighbors and people that you know when you're out and around town. Point number six is to be prepared for mud season. It is a real thing here in Vermont. Noah Kahan, of course, made stick season famous, which is in the fall after the leaves fall off the trees and there's sticks on the ground. Mud season is on the other side of winter when the snow starts to melt. The dirt roads around Vermont get very muddy. The ground is soft and wet from all the snow melt here, and it's a real thing. Your car is going to get dirty. You might have difficulty if you're on a rural road and you have two-wheel drive. It's probably going to be a bit harder for you to get home in that scenario. So you may want to have four-wheel drive for that reason as well, especially if you're in a more rural part of town. If you're around Burlington, you're probably not going to have any issue. There's paved roads everywhere here. But even if you're a little bit outside of Montpelier or Rutland, there's a lot of neighborhoods and homes that are on dirt roads or require you to use a dirt road to get into town. And so being prepared for that, especially when things are soft and wet in mud season, is something that you should be prepared for if you do decide to move here in Vermont. Now, spring is a beautiful time of year when that snow is melting and you get excited for summer and the flowers are blooming, but it does come with the wetness and the mud that the snow brings. And point number seven is that you'll complain, but you'll never really want to leave. The sellers that I work with who are leaving the state, they always have something that brought them here in the first place and is tough for them to let go. Now, you'll complain while you're here, the short days, the cold winters, the mud, the snow, the lack of amenities, but overall, the charming nature of Vermont, how beautiful the state is, the outdoor activities that are right at your doorstep, wherever you live in the state. It's something that you will enjoy if you do decide to move here. It's something that Vermont residents enjoyed, something that I really enjoy living here in the state. So that's my truth about Vermont. That look, it's not all sunshine and rainbows here. There are some struggles that come with living in the state, and there are downsides, just as there's downsides with every place that you would live anywhere in the world. So keep these in mind if you're thinking about moving to Vermont. And if these have all become too much for you and you want to move out of state, reach out to me directly. I'd be happy to help you sell your home. Or, of course, if you're moving here from out of state, all my contact information is in the description, and I'd be happy to help you find your dream home here in the state of Vermont. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you got something out of this video, and I'll see you in the next one.